Hi, I'm John Freitag. I'm with All American Hospice, and I'm here today with my friend Desiree Crager. She's with Premier Home Care. So Des, why don't you tell us what you do at Premier?
Sure. Hi, John. Thank you so much for doing this with me today. So appreciative. You're a true trailblazer when it comes to our virtual world and how we're all adapting to it.
Thanks, Des.
So I am a community liaison with Premier Home Care and Premier Companion Care. So Premier has two components, both medical and non-medical home care services. And I've been with Premier for this upcoming September will be 9 years as their community liaison slash, salesperson marketing. So
That's great. That's a long time with one company. How did you even get into working with seniors? What brought you to the industry?
So I always grew up very, very close to my great grandma. And I always say, like, she pretty much raised me. She always told the story that she carried me home from the hospital because there wasn't even car seats back then, and that she never let me go since. So she's just like a really special woman in my life, and I literally owe it all to her. Actually, I have a picture I will share with you guys. So I hope that you can see that. That's five generations of women in my family. And this is my great grandmother here, myself, and my mother, my daughter Sloan, and my grandmother Sandy. So
That's really cool.
Thank you. And it means so much to me. I mean, I was so blessed to at one time had 5 generations of women alive in my family, and that's so rare. When I got older, my grandmother was just only had a 6th grade education. And as she started growing older and I grew older and I started, educating myself on insurance and just different things of, your adult life and, things, social security numbers, all of this. My grandmother was getting older. She was applying, she had Medicare. She was going to doctor's visits. And I seen there was struggle there because she just, she couldn't really read or write. She didn't really understand things. And that was hard for her. And it was hard for me. And I had to advocate for her. So when I started working, I first worked as a office manager in a home care company. And then one of my physical therapists, who is per diem at Premier, had said to me, you should just, come and work for Premier. They're looking for a marketing and a salesperson. And I met with the owner, Irene, and we just kind of fell in love with one another. And I loved what she stood for and her mission. And that really all kind of transcends to how I felt as a human being and wanting to care for my grandmother. And then when I met with patients and their family members and how it all came together where I'm like, oh my God, I feel as though I'm meant to be here because I looked at every person like they were my grandparent or my grandmother, who a lot of them weren't educated. They didn't know. They had no idea, how to tap into their benefits, what kind of services they needed or what was offered out there and how to get them. I just wanted to be able to provide good care for individuals that really need it. And, growing old is, a blessing, denied to so many. And we should need to treat those people with respect. And we need to advocate for them. And I always say that. And when my grandma, has since passed, I always on her birthday, I always put it out in the world on my social media account or anything. Call your grandmom, your aunt, your uncle, anyone, your mom, your dad that's close to you. Tell them that you love them. Ask them if they need anything because, what do we have if we don't have our connections, to our family, to our community, as human beings, and we have to be there for one another. So that's really why I'm in this service, this industry and helping seniors, and because that's what it means to me.
That's awesome, Des. Yeah, I mean, you're right. In the end, family's all you have.
Yeah.
And that's you're more of an advocate than just a liaison. Just
sure.
teaching people on how to do their benefits. So,
I love talking with the older people. You know, when you get the referral, I mean, you can probably attest to this. You go in, and even through your social services background, John, and it's like, you talk with them, you start to really, you know, at first they might be a little standoffish, and then you break through, you say, you know, you kind of really sit down, you make that eye to eye contact with them, and, you know, you get that breakthrough, and then they just, you know, they're like this open book, and then they want to tell you all these things, and like you're learning these life lessons, and
right.
it's, I don't know, it could be, there's so many times where it's truly amazing. I mean,
It's
don't get me
definitely
wrong.
rewarding.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. I mean, our older folk can be really, you know, sticklers when they want to be, but that's okay. I mean, they're just, they're allowed. They're
Yeah.
allowed.
Yeah, they earned it. They earned it, right?
They earned it. Yeah.
Right. That's great. So Desiree, with everything going on with COVID-19, in the forefront of everyone's mind, what challenges are you guys facing?
So I would say, you know, just like everybody else, PPE has always, you know, had been a challenge. I mean, we definitely had to, you know, dig deep and find those vendors that could do our, you know, supply and give us what we needed. And listen, at times it's been super hard, it's been super costly, but you know, we couldn't not do it. Obviously, we had to be as prepared as possible, and with that, we were very fortunate and able to keep all of our, you know, staff safe and healthy. Because a challenge with us is that we are a small business and owned and operated by a nurse, so we don't have that franchise backing or that, you know, hospital based backing. We're really an essential small business. So with, you know, not being able to acquire PPE or acquire testing, that could really set a small company up for failure, meaning that if an outbreak happened to our staff, our clinical staff, we could then not treat our patients, and you could go under very quickly. So we have to, from day one, take every necessary precaution with PPE. And the owner, Irene, has been really, really adamant with that. And education too, educating everyone on a daily basis. When the pandemic, you know, first started, we also faced a lot of challenges, and there was a lot of fear because patients were declining services. They did not want, and their family members did not want anybody in their home.
Are you still
Any
seeing that?
therapist, no. It's changed. It's changed a lot more through, I mean, what are we in 2.5 months of
Yeah, or more,
all of
right?
this? When it first started, everyone, you know, was like, well, there weren't elective surgeries happen. They just did not want anybody there. If they were home from work, they were taking care of their loved ones if they could. And that leads me to like my next challenge when it came to home care. A lot of our staff, myself included, people in the office, the clinicians, the therapists, our social worker, we're spending a lot of time on the phone with people. Like a lot of telehealth was happening, whether it was like we were sending resources through email or even through the mail if they didn't have, you know, email, some things that they could do, exercises and so on. It's just a lot of talk on the phone to try and educate and ease people's, you know, minds and their fears about letting a person come in and out of their home, because, you know, we wanted to make sure that we had we were designating specific people to specific areas for people that were also specifically referred to us that were COVID positive as well. So any ways that we were preventing, you know, not spreading it around, we were doing. So the more has time and the weeks gone by, every patient and, you know, our referral sources, everyone has kind of come more to the understanding of what we're doing and how we're doing it. Because I mean, it's just the fact of the matter. I mean, everything hasn't always been like sunshine and rainbows. I mean, I'm sure you've seen that within like the hospice industry as well. There's challenges.
Yeah,
This
we've
is
all had
not.
to adapt. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're, you know, we're having this discussion, it was both, you know, challenges and fears that were from the business end, and then also from patient care. The patients that were declining services and the family members, we were truly scared for them, because then what if there was a decline and they were, they weren't having their therapist out to work with them? Were they going to do the exercises themselves? Were we going to see a decline in their health and then them end up in the hospital?
Right.
All
Taking the
these like
medicines
fear,
correct, and yeah.
all these fears really, came to light, but it's our job to, minimize that and to educate them, and even to educate ourselves, to do better and to be better, and that we could get through this together if we all took, necessary precautions through that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What have you guys implemented that you'd like to see continue post-COVID?
So when CMS put out that nurse practitioners, PAs, and the physicians were allowed to do telehealth, like the sign face-to-face, that really helped a lot with like timely care for our patients that we were receiving referrals from in the community, or discharging from skilled nursing facilities, or at, assisted livings, so on and so forth. That really helped with timely care. And I truly hope that that's here to stay. So only time will tell. John, is that within hospice as well?
There has been some changes with telehealth. Yep. Yeah. So we're able to do some telemedicine visits. They have to be able to, have some video interaction with people. Like, it's got to be more than a phone call,
Okay.
And
Okay.
who knows if that'll stick around or not. I mean, it's hard.
Great.
I don't know if you watched the video we did with Jim Turner talking about telemedicine. Even CMS was saying you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I totally agree with you. And I hope that, I hope that there's reimbursement there at some point. Like when we were just talking, a little while ago about our staff spending a lot more time on the phone with, no reimbursement, but it had to be done.
Yeah.
It was almost like to the effect where, as I said, they were fearful and they were canceling their nurse or their therapist or their aide because maybe they had a family member home, but we still had to do our part in educating them on what to do. So, right. And some of our, maybe it was the patient themselves and they didn't even have anybody else at home, but they're still, maybe they were watching the TV. They psych themselves up so much that they don't want anybody there. You still have to do your due diligence, you know what I mean? And explain to them what they need to do, or make sure you're taking this pill, or don't forget not to eat any sodium. You know what I mean? There's just so much, there's so much to it. So the time was still being, spent there. And I'm glad to see that with where we are now, 2.5 months in, that has changed, and we still receive, our referrals, and patients are accepting, but there are some that are not, still not as much as before, but it's still there.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be people who are still nervous about it, and you can't blame them.
You can't. Yeah. You can't. You can only we can only do our best. And like I said, whether that is a lengthy phone call, so they have somebody to even talk. They're talking to someone. They feel even better about that. That's fine. You know what I mean? We have to respect that, like you said.
Yeah. So what have you guys been doing to keep up company morale? It's got to be tough with the aides and everyone, because they're dealing with their own issues. I know ours are, with lack of childcare, and just they're scared as well.
Absolutely. I have always said that Premier has done everything in its power to be there for its staff, and that she, like myself and Irene and the other leaders in my office, have always just tried to make everyone feel as though their feelings and what they were going through meant something, to all of us, because it is, these frontline workers are, truly heroes. They are right out there in the thick of it, and it's scary. So she's offered premium pay to all of our COVID response team members, caregivers, nurses, therapists, to everybody. She's taken excellent care of all of her staff. I'm so happy to be, still gainfully employed, as I'm sure you are as well. We're all still doing our part, which I'm grateful to have, to have a job. There's so many people out there that don't. a lot of our caregivers, I have to say, have truly, everyone stepped up in in many ways, because I feel they knew they were safe from day one. As soon as she was like more, I mean, it was like she watched the news and was like, I have to, before this, blows up even bigger, I need to get on this right away and secure
That's
a
in pure
lot of
play. Yeah.
masks and stuff. I mean, it was really great. I don't, I know I've said it so many times, but I feel fortunate in that aspect of it. This September, I'll be with Premier 9 years. We've had staff that has been with Premier since day one, 15 years ago, when Irene opened up the business. And that it speaks volumes to what, happens behind the scenes with our, what our company culture is like. I mean, it's
Definitely.
very much like a family, and I can appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when you look at lots of times in healthcare, there's tons of turnover, and for whatever
Yep,
reason. So
sure.
it's really impressive that you have
Yeah,
people there that long. So that's great.
yeah,
Kudos to you.
yeah.
What's next for you in Premiere?
So what's next? I feel as though um, my dream would be that we had, from the ground up, a team of people that got together. So, like, hear me out on this. And I mean, like, literally, like lay people from the community, church ministers, discharge planners, RNs, hospice, home care, doctors, social workers, case managers, discharge planners, assisted livings, CCRCs, SNFs, all of us. Like, we all got together in this way where we were like, these are the gaps. This is what's happening. How can we provide this resource? Like, collaborate all together, where there was like more of a, I don't know. I'm like, I love having like educated resources where I know what to do next, or like who could we call to get you this help? Like, leaving people better than when I found them. So
Right.
like, I guess it goes back to that feeling, like I said with my grandma, that she didn't have the education, or she didn't have the abilities to find out this information. And she looked to me to help her do that. And then what about those other grandmoms that are out there that have no one, maybe family members, to look towards to find out this information? And they, come across someone like you, or someone like me, or a social worker at a hospital, or their minister. And they could say, okay, like, here's a list of like really valuable resources. And, let me help you, let me help you navigate your health plan a little bit better. Or not even if it's just not health related, just their
Just to have the
existence in their
resources.
community, to
Yeah.
be to be better. Because it could be like a social thing. There's it doesn't always have to be a medical thing. It could be their social thing, or whatever they could do to improve their life.
No,
So that
that's
would be like, yeah, that would be like amazing dream, like, for all of us to like collaborate, in some way. And I think we do. I mean, I know on our Facebook group, it's been so great. I mean, with like, props to that. Everyone should be on there. I like sharing, their resource and stuff. And I definitely found some valuable information there for sure. All of the presenters are always great. But that's what
Yeah,
I want to
it
keep
could
that
definitely
going.
improve, and
Yeah, keep,
sharing all the resources. No one can be an expert at everything. So if you can
right,
have all the experts together that can share their resources, and
right.
you got to look at it like 5-10 years ago, we were not as connected as we are now. So I mean, it's only going to get better.
That's true. I mean, I know that I always say I miss that, like, that being face to face and that connection and stuff like that. But also, I mean, this has been good too, because it has been, virtually bringing people out and, doing this. It's not going to go away. Like you said earlier, even it's telehealth, you let the genie out of the bottle, as you said. I mean, I agree with that. And I had to watch that video that you mentioned earlier for sure, just
Right.
to, yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully
Definitely.
everything will,
Definitely.
yeah, hopefully everything will come back to some sort of normalcy soon. And, I'm looking at your sign behind you, gather. So hopefully we can all gather together soon, share some drinks, share some thoughts.
I
And
know that would be so great. I'd love to hear more too, like as a prompt kind of to, end this. Maybe we can get some people back together on our forum on Facebook, just kind of asking more questions and, hearing more what's going on. I feel like I don't, I feel that, dialogue kind of maybe dying down a little
yeah,
bit.
no, I
So
agree.
I love
I agree. People,
yeah,
let's
I
get some
love an
questions.
exchange. Yeah, I love it. I love an exchange of, stuff. And it always seems to be, I get a call from a patient at times when the Zoom conference like comes on and stuff like that, and I might miss things. Maybe we could do like some sort of recap, like just say you missed the Zoom call with like senior directory or
Right.
Roth call. We could do like, if someone could pop on there and do like a
Oh, there
recap
we
of
go.
what happened to keep
Yeah.
people informed, like myself, that at that time, wasn't on, because I want to I love to exchange, like, in discussions with people. So 'cause I feel it's only bettering, our knowledge and,
That's an awesome
helping.
idea. I'll reach out
Right.
to Donna because she runs the Rothkopf calls. Maybe she can put
Yeah.
together some sort of highlights or footnotes or something that we can
Oh, great.
discuss.
Awesome. And
That'd
Donna's
be
fabulous. I'm sure she'll be all over that.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
So thanks again, Des. I really appreciate you
Oh,
taking the time. And
thank you.
it's always a pleasure to work with you. So thank you so much.
Oh, you too, John. I can definitely attest to that. I mean, you've taken care of extended family members of mine for hospice, and I, your company's fabulous, and working with you is always fabulous. And I told you're inspiring me. So thank you
So
for that.
thank you, Desiree.
All right, my dear. Have a good day.
Thanks. Take care.